Hey, so I wanted to shoot this video to kind of talk about the importance of financial education. Why should you even take the time to learn anything about personal finance or investing or building long-term wealth at all? And it's interesting because I posed this question out in a group, a different group, and I got a response back that was like, well, I don't have to understand driving a car or how a car works in order to drive a car, right? And that was their approach to investing. And I thought, wow, how many other people out there approach long term wealth building with the same sort of attitude, the same sort of nonchalant approach? How many people out there are like, oh, don't worry about it. I got a guy who handles all my finances. And I sat there and thought about this metaphor for a while, and then I had an interesting response back, and it's like, okay, so maybe you don't have to know the ins and outs of a car to be able to drive a car, right? And you could drive the car and still kind of get to your destination. But there's a lot, there's a big difference in the types of cars out there and the types of drivers out there, right? So similar to like the investing world, there are trucks, there are sports cars, there are RVs, there are buses, right? It doesn't require the same amount of training to do any of those things, right? And yeah, maybe you don't have to understand the intricacies of how a car works, but how much less risk do you have over the course of your generation if you at least understand the basics? If you at least know what a radiator is, or an intake, or what the actual engine itself is or looks like, right? If you have a problem, you run into an issue and your car breaks down, right? At least you have a better way of solving the problem. Now, how does that work in correlation to the personal finance journey? Well, over the course of time, things happen, like the housing crisis, like this coronavirus situation, which causes bumps in the road. So, how much better off do you think the people who understand their investments are? The people who have set up a strategy that has reserves and margins built in. And this isn't a time to say, I told you so, or anything like that. It's more of a time of reflection and understanding that stuff happens on the journey. And then maybe your approach to, I don't need to know how a car works in order to drive, should be reevaluated. Maybe you should understand how the car works a little bit better. But beyond that, it's the actual driving technique associated with the car, right? If you are driving a sports car, you should learn how to drive a sports car. You may have to go to special training to drive a sports car. If you are driving a luxury car, right? It's a little bit different care than if you were just driving your very first junker, your very first car ever that you first got when you were 16, a junker car that's 10 years old and barely works, right? So the same thing applies with our finances though, like taking the time to learn to be a defensive driver, right? Because believe it or not, you know what the number one cause of death is in America? Accidents, car accidents. Do you think you'd have a little bit better chance of surviving if you took a defensive driving course or understood driving strategy better? Or even if you went to do like a high performance course, like maybe you're not a high performance driver. Do you think what you would learn in a high performance driving course could pay off in your driving skills day to day and perhaps give you a better chance of avoiding an accident? Right? So this is just an interesting example. This example could go in 1,000 different ways, but really the point of the example is that yes, you should have a basic understanding of your long-term wealth building strategy. And financial education is important. So what to do if you're not getting the financial education you need. If you don't have a source right now for financial education, or you don't have a place to go to constantly learn about this stuff, or if you're not constantly reading or listening to podcasts or any of that, I have a solution for you. You see, I made a free strategy group, a financial strategy group, where I discuss long-term wealth building and strategies. It's free financial education for you. I made a wealth building checklist. It's literally a checklist you can take, go through it, and see what items on the list you currently have in your long-term wealth building plan and what items you don't have that maybe should be a part of your long-term wealth building strategy. And not only that, but in my free strategy group, I made an entire mini series, course modules that you can go through that covers every aspect of the wealth building checklist. And it's set up in a way that you can even keep track of your progress. So this is an awesome opportunity for you guys to learn more, learn about driving without having to go to a special school for driving, learn about investing, learn about strategies that exist, learn about opportunities that may be available to you that you were not aware of before. And knowing is half the battle. I mean, the longer that you wait to learn this stuff, the more time that has passed and the more compounding interest you may have lost out on. I mean, if you wait 5 years, that could be the difference between $100,000, $500,000 by the time you retire in 30 years. That's a big difference. It may not seem like very much now, but over the course of your life, it could be huge. So I urge you to take control of your finances. This is a very easy, guilt-free way to do it. You're on social media anyway, so just take some time to go through the modules every now and then. I guarantee you, you'll learn something new every time. And if you don't, that's awesome. That means that you're just expanding your horizons. And beyond that too, I hope that you guys take this opportunity as a way to share this information with other people that you know are going to need it. Not only just your friends and family, but your children. I mean, for people who have a guy that handles your finances, is that your solution to educating your children? Just wait till they're old enough and making money, and then you're just going to refer them to your guy? Let them figure everything else out on their own? That's not a great strategy either. I mean, at least if you understand the basic principles and could teach them to your children, you're giving them a much better chance of success. I mean, even with the driving example, right? If you yourself took the time to teach your child how to drive instead of letting them learn on their own through a driving school or from an instructor, and then they just go take the test and then, all right, you're on your own now, go drive, right? What a different reality for a child whose parents took the time to teach them before they did all this, right? So this is the advantage you can give your children or your nephews and nieces or other generations or children that are going to look up to you at some point. Be the example for them and get the knowledge now. Once you get the knowledge, no one can take that away from you. And that's your knowledge at that point to share to other people, right? So I hope that this has inspired you to think a little bit differently about when it comes to your finances. Think a little bit differently. Be inspired to learn and grow and to want to understand wealth building a little bit more, because you know what? If you at least were inspired, then I can help you with the rest and provide you with the financial education you need to make that dream and that goal a reality. So hope to see you in the group, and I promise there will be a ton of value for you in there. All right? See you soon.